Hi, my name is Elliot Emery, and today I am going to read an excerpt of my book, Why Are You Going There? Stories of an English Teacher in Russia. This book is available to buy now as an ebook and paperback on Amazon. So today I'm going to read the prologue of this book to you. Why are you going there? I think I speak for everyone, Elliot, when I say that you will be missed, announced my soon-to-be former manager of the law firm where I had been working for the past few years. Although brief, I thought that this was a lovely send-off until he hastened to add, especially when you get arrested by the KGB, and chuckled to himself. I contemplated reminding him that in fact the KGB had ceased operating after the fall of the Soviet Union, and that if I was to be arrested, it would be by the much more humane organization that is the FSB. However, he seemed particularly pleased with this joke, and so I decided to let him have this one. After all, this was my final work Christmas party. Also, as he swayed there in front of me in an increasingly drunken stupor, I decided that he perhaps lacked capacity to have a discussion about the intricacies of the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 and its aftermath at this precise moment. On the note of sobriety, I should add that he was far from being the only drunk person in the room. In fact, everyone, apart from me and another colleague, was in varying states of drunkenness. Usually, I would be right there with them. Indeed, the presence of alcohol is normally a prerequisite for me attending a work Christmas party in the first place. I find that it numbs the pain of forced joviality which surrounds Christmas. However, this year, the party took place at a stately home which was miles away from where I lived, and so I decided to drive. I didn't fancy paying upwards of £50 for a taxi home, just so I could drink and spend several more hours listening to jokes about my impending arrest and/or death. I doubt that the consumption of alcohol would have made these jokes any funnier. As my colleagues swayed into a nearby room with a dance floor, I decided that it was time to make my exit. As if the prospect of me awkwardly dancing for another hour, like I was having some kind of seizure, wasn't enough, I then heard the DJ enthusiastically booming out ABBA. This was my confirmation that it was time to leave. I'm certainly no dancing queen. I bid farewell to my drunken colleagues and headed home, leaving what would be my final Christmas party. Just over a month earlier, I had decided to resign from my job as an immigration lawyer to start a new career as an English teacher in Moscow. I'd been learning Russian for about 2 years and had a bizarre fascination with the country, which I think stemmed from my history lessons at school. However, I had never visited Russia nor lived abroad. Nevertheless, I had been working incredibly long hours at a law firm for several years and was ready for a change. I enjoyed my work. I represented asylum seekers, predominantly unaccompanied children, in their asylum claims, which was a worthy and important cause about which I was, and still am, incredibly passionate. However, it was also very stressful, and, as with most worthy causes, not particularly well paid. In addition, I was tired of attending 3+ hour interviews at the Home Office where my clients were interrogated as to why they couldn't remember the exact time of day they fled their war-torn country. The fact that they couldn't remember this one detail inevitably meant that their whole case was fabricated. These questions usually came from an apathetic interviewer who was not only too lazy to read my client's 15-page witness statement, which had been submitted several weeks beforehand, but also to iron his own shirt. So, in light of the above, after accepting a job offer in Moscow, I was understandably excited. However, not everyone shared this excitement. Once news of my resignation reached my manager, he came over to me and asked, "Why are you going there? It's dangerous." In fact, he was not the only person who didn't share my excitement. In the weeks leading up to my departure, I noticed 3 different types of reactions to my news. Upon hearing my news, one group of people would look at me with pity in their eyes, as if I had just told them that I had just been diagnosed with a terminal illness. The second group of people would usually stare at me with a look of genuine fear in their eyes, like I'd just told them I was about to jump in front of a train. The third and final, and perhaps my favourite group, reacted with a bizarre sense of anger and confusion, as though I had just told them I was a spy. Perhaps his final reaction was inspired by recent events in the news concerning the Novichok poisonings in Salisbury. I kindly reminded these people that I'd had no involvement in this. However, the people whose opinions mattered to me most, friends and family, all supported my decision, even if they didn't fully understand it. In any event, nothing would change my mind. I'd already resigned from my current job and accepted a position as an English teacher in Moscow. I was going to Russia. However, what I hadn't anticipated before making this decision was how exhausting it would be to pack up my life and move abroad. I was 27 years old and lived alone in a small rented terraced house in a Derbyshire village. I consider myself somewhat of a minimalist, so I thought it would be easy to pack up my life. How wrong I was. The final few hours in my house consisted of me lying on the floor in a delirious trance, begging for mercy, surrounded by nothing but damp, bare walls. When I had moved into the house the previous year, it was completely unfurnished, not even white goods. At the time, I thought this was great, as I could put my own stamp on the place and spend hours at IKEA guzzling Swedish meatballs. What I hadn't thought about was that when leaving the house, I would also need to get rid of all this furniture. The final days prior to my departure led to me literally throwing furniture at charity shop doors or at anyone who would have them. As if I didn't have enough on my plate, the month before, my letting agency had announced that the landlord wished to sell the property, so they would be conducting viewings. What I learned from these viewings, as well as from trying to sell my furniture at the same time, is that people are generally excellent at asking stupid questions. I remember one lady who was viewing the house whispering to me as the estate agent momentarily left the room, "What are the neighbours like?" as if I might have some shocking secret information. I considered telling her that on the left-hand side lived a drug dealer who specialised in Class A drugs, which he would sell from behind the back of the local co-op supermarket, and that on the right-hand side there was a brothel. However, given my lack of energy, I simply muttered, "Fine." I could understand if she was viewing a property in the Bronx. However, she was viewing a property in a sleepy Derbyshire village where the average age of the population is 70 years old. The house where I lived was called Bluebell Cottage. This is hardly a name which evokes images of organised crime. On another occasion, a prospective buyer asked me what the loft was like. "Sorry, Dave," not his real name, "I have no idea," I replied, as I was frantically disassembling an IKEA dining table so that someone could come and collect it for the princely sum of £10. I used various websites in an effort to sell some of my furniture or items which had been bought less than a year ago. This inevitably led to more stupid questions. One item I was trying to get rid of was a rather large plasma television. Now, I don't mind answering simple and logical questions such as, does this television have inbuilt Freeview? However, when Sandra wanted to know the day the television was built and the name of the person who built it, as well as the names of his wife and kids, I lost my patience. In the end, my television remained unsold and currently resides in my mother's garage. Another item I was trying to sell online was a sofa. One potential buyer wanted a few more photos of the sofa. The multiple photos already online were apparently not enough, including a close-up. I found myself on my hands and knees taking photographs as if I was a sleazy photographer doing a shoot for page 3 of The Sun. The night before I left, I spent at my mother's house packing. I was exhausted but excited. I was excited to move to a country where hopefully I wouldn't have to answer any more stupid questions or throw furniture at random passers-by in the street in an attempt to get rid of it. I was ready to move to Russia. All I had to worry about now was my impending arrest and death at the hands of the FSB upon arrival. After the stress of the past few months, that felt like a welcome relief. So that was a prologue of my book, Why Are You Going There? Stories of an English Teacher in Russia. The book is available online now as an ebook and as a paperback at Amazon UK, the US, and other countries. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.